Welcome back to the Senior Basketball Analyst. We're doing something a little different today. Every now and then I'll be doing this where basically someone makes a request and, for a topic. And if, first and foremost, this is a conversation. So I will happily do that. Shout Eric Tolbert out. He had a pretty good question. It's one that's been, getting batted around the internet. Who will win in a one-on-one game, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to set the table for what specifically we're talking about. And, so this is not a discussion about who is the better overall player, because the better overall player may not win in a one-on-one situation. I'll give you a prime example of where there's a question, how different these things can be. Jamal Crawford of the LA Clippers is one of the best one-on-one players in the league. And as far as handling a ball and getting a shot, he's as good as anybody. He's as good as anybody I've ever seen. In fact, off the dribble and being able to make sure he can get a good shot, or a makeable shot, I should say. In a one-on-one game, he has a chance against Chris Paul. He has a chance. On the other hand, he's nowhere near as good a player. He wasn't anywhere near as good a player in his prime as Chris Paul. No, not even close. So that's just a prime example of how that's not the discussion we're having. We're not saying who is a better player. We're not saying who you would rather have in a team concept, because this is just strictly a one-on-one contest. One-on-one is not, it removes most of the elements of a team 5-on-5 basketball game, especially a team organized game with referees and, their various nonsense, and then the rules are different. It's a totally different type of contest. In a one-on-one tournament, there'll be very few big men that could even compete, because if you gave them the ball at the top of the key, they probably would get stuck up before they got into range where they would be effective to score against, the guards and, ball handling perimeter oriented forwards of the league. So this is just I just want to set the table there. This is strictly, we checking the ball top of the key, or, a little bit beyond that, probably a couple steps beyond the NBA 3-point line, checking the ball about 30 feet away, and, having these guys play to 11 by ones or something like that. And I think the first thing I'm going to probably just work outside in. And actually, before I do that, I want to talk about which players we're talking about too, because over the course of your career, a player changes a lot, especially players with tremendous athletic ability like LeBron James and Michael Jordan both have. When Michael Jordan was a young guy, we all saw in the dunk contest, the signature Jordan windmill, where he can palm the ball on a windmill and he kind of leans like this and dunks the ball. We see with plays like that, Michael Jordan can get his head up at the rim. If we take his listed height, if we take it at face value and say he's 6'6", 6 feet 72 inches, so that's 78 inches. The rim is 10 feet, so it's 120 inches. 120 minus 80 is 40. So add 2 to that, that's 42 inches. So Michael Jordan's vertical leap in his prime was at least 42 inches. That's just some, back of the napkin math, or off the top of my head math. LeBron James, very similar in having his head, kind of around here at the rim, that I see in games, when he goes and does, his dunk that he does like that he always does. We often, in fact, from time to time, even today, when he gets a good running start, he can still do that. So if, again, we take LeBron James listed height at face value, we say in his prime that, he had at least a 39-inch vertical leap, at least, right? So we could probably say that LeBron James could probably touch a higher spot on the backboard than Jordan because his arms are going to be longer, because obviously because he's taller. We'd probably say that. But one of the things I will point out is, well, actually, let me get back to that later. So I'm going to talk pre-retirement to go play baseball, Michael Jordan, and I'm going to talk about the LeBron James uh, in his first year in Miami. That's what I'm going to talk about. And the reason I'm going to use those two is because I think those are good representations of the maximum level of skill for both player and athleticism. The LeBron James you see today isn't anywhere near the athlete that he used to be. Now, you could argue he's a better player in a team concept, and we could, because we all saw, this LeBron James can completely like just pound the air out of the ball. This is 5-second violation LeBron James, where he just takes all the shots and makes all the assists, and he basically directs traffic for the whole team with the post game. I don't know, though, that this is the best individually skilled LeBron that we've ever seen. And that's what I mean. I want to try to match these guys up at a time when they're at their peak. So we're going to talk about, again, like, around the beginning of his Miami run for LeBron James. We're going to talk about right before his first retirement to go play baseball. So the first three-peat, Michael Jordan. On the outside, neither one of these guys is a knockdown three-point shooter at all. And I think that in Jordan's case, I think a lot of times, Jordan saw the three-point line as something that is too far away. Like, why would I work on that? Why would I shoot a lot of those? Jordan would hit threes from time to time, but that just wasn't his forte. The jump shot was too flat. That wasn't what he did. Jordan took the ball to the rack in an era where you got clothesline at the basket, in an era with aircraft carrier centers that patrolled the paint. Guys like Dikembe Mutombo, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, the list goes on and on. This was an era where getting into the paint and scoring was at its most difficult, and Michael Jordan ate lunch in the paint. And this is at the shooting guard position. So at the arc, that just wasn't his forte. LeBron James is probably a more consistent three-point shooter than Jordan. In fact, I know he is. When LeBron gets a standstill open three and he's got space, he basically hits it. Jordan, that was not his forte. And back then, it's kind of like when you watch the old days and like a guy like Isaiah Thomas would dunk the ball once every blue moon. He could, of course, dunk the ball, but it wasn't a thing anybody focused on. Nowadays, the three-point shot is something that people work on and focus on more. So you see a guy like LeBron James shooting threes. I think that three-point game would be essential for LeBron James to win this contest. I really do. And here's the reason. He is going to have a very, very difficult time staying in front of LeBron, of Michael Jordan, because he just wouldn't have the quickness. Even at his peak athletic ability, LeBron James has quick feet for a 6'9" guy. He does not have quick feet for a 6'6" guy. And he certainly doesn't have the quickness Michael Jordan had. Michael Jordan had a first step that was incredible. He would leave people standing stock still where they were. And when you go back and watch footage of Michael Jordan from these days, it's easy to see why he would get 34 points a game and shoot 52% from the field. It's easy to see why. He would catch the ball and he would just be gone. He wouldn't even put a dribble move on the guy. He would either, if he saw you were a little bit leaning too far this way, he would blow past you with the right hand. You were leaning too far, blow past you with the left hand. And then the other thing he had too, his ability, Michael Jordan was not a leaper in terms of how high he leapt, and that just separated him from everybody else. There's a lot of dudes that can jump. What separated Michael Jordan was his ability to jump on a dead run. He could jump and get, and that's why you'll see these old clips, like the one, there's a famous one where he dunks on Mutombo and does this. He's one of these players that has this rare ability to explode without really having to gather himself. He could just be running by the basket somewhere, running like toward the, like not like directly toward the basket, but he could be kind of angled off this way and then just bam, and he's up and he dunks the ball and he keeps going. That is not common. In fact, most people that have that kind of ability to explode without having to either gather or take multiple steps in that direction, most guys that can jump like that are smaller players. Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague can, on a dead run, like broad jump and jump as fast as he's running. Like, and you see it. There's the ones where he kept dunking on the Lakers last year. Though that's a prime example of where he can just get on a dead run and then he's flying this way and dunks as fast as he's running. Bigger players usually can't do that. And they especially can't do it when they're trying to weave through traffic. A guy that I'll give you an example of, a guy today that can dunk in traffic the way that Jordan used to dunk in traffic, Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala has this rare ability where he can keep his footwork and he has the strength to hit bodies and then still be able to elevate. Now, he gathers. He has a strange ability where he does gather to do it, and he's doing it all muscle. Jordan had the combination of quickness and strength and then ability to just like almost off his toes, and then he's at the rim finishing. That is very, very important for this contest. Very, very important. And the reason is, we all know that LeBron, because of his athletic ability, his tenaciousness, he can get beat and then meet you at the rim and get it off the backboard. It's going to be tough for him to consistently make that work against Jordan, because Jordan can accelerate and keep going and get away from you. And he can elevate without having to gather. So when LeBron goes to gather to jump to get it, it may be too late. It may be already on the backboard, now it's goaltending. Or Jordan may finish it with the dunk. Jordan may reach out like this in front of him, finish it with the dunk, and just keep going. We all know. We all seen the clips. Jordan, would finish out in front of him. Like, when Dominique Wilkins would jump and dunk it like this, Jordan will finish out in front of him and just keep running. So you might have to go through his head. Jordan used to go to the free throw line all the time where he's going to finish and people are hitting him in the back of the head all the time. That's going to be key to this contest. Very, very key. As we move in, LeBron James' lack of an in-between game. And he does not have a great in-between game. Now, when he's playing against certain players, like I remember he hit Draymond Green with this a couple times, where Draymond Green had the back so far off of him on a jab step, LeBron James hits elbow jump shots on him. This is something that I'm not sure if he's going to be able to use that to his advantage against Jordan. Jordan, defensively, this is a part of his game that has been lost to history, just lost. You got to keep in mind, Michael Jordan led the league in scoring one year and steals. Michael Jordan was a stick-up artist. If you got sloppy with the basketball, he would take it right out of your hands. This is against other guards. LeBron James is a forward. I know he can handle the ball, but LeBron James is not a point guard. If you notice, when LeBron James is trying to handle the ball against smaller players, he turns his back. That's one of the things that you have to think about when you're talking about a player that is a forward or a guard. If you watch Magic Johnson will bring the ball up the court facing you. A lot of LeBron James, he's getting pressured, he turns his back. Now, it's not a thing of where I'm saying LeBron James is not a good ball handler. He's an excellent ball handler at the small forward position. Will he be able to handle the ball well enough to consistently get to spots where he can take advantage of his superior height and strength? That's the question. And that is one of those things I would like to see it play out, because I know when players tried to back Michael Jordan down, he stole the ball from him. There's entire YouTube compilations of it. Him getting switched off onto a center. The center tries to take a dribble, back him down, push ball floor one time, and Jordan will steal it. Michael Jordan had incredibly quick hands, incredibly quick. In fact, he had the quickest hands of any shooting guard I ever saw. And this was the thing about Jordan. You know, one of his lesser known nicknames was the Black Cat. There's a pair of Jordans that I have with a panther on. Michael Jordan, cat-like reflexes, man. Cat-like reflexes. And it wasn't just his intelligence of the way he played the game. He also had reaction time that was just superior. Dudes go to shoot the ball, you just strip them. And he would do this stuff routinely. It wasn't even like it was a big deal when he did it. You'd be watching the game and you'd just be watching him and Scottie just abuse people defensively. LeBron James is a great, great defender. But LeBron James, what he does to really make his defense, and in this era is when he's really become a great defender, the end of his Miami days, now into his Cleveland days. This is when he's really shining defensively. And he's shining because of his ability to recognize the geometry and spatial awareness of the floor. He has great ability at that. LeBron doesn't just glue himself to a guy and just take the ball off of him. That's not the way he plays. He doesn't play like that. LeBron James steers you into bad spots, makes you take tough shots by moving his feet, steering you to an area, and then when you pull up, take a bad shot, he just puts a good contest up, and then he's done. And he's got such physical superiority that you have to shoot that high fadeaway up over his head. You're not likely to hit it. And then as a help defender, he's incredible at knowing what you're trying to do and what tendencies are and cutting off those skip passing lanes before you having a chance to do it. These are team defensive concepts, and that's the difference about what I'm talking about. As a team defender, LeBron James is much more effective than Michael Jordan ever was. Much more effective. But again, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about who's a better player. We're talking about a one-on-one contest. I don't know if the greatness of LeBron James' defense necessarily translates to him trying to guard one of the quickest shooting guards to ever play. They can also explode at the rim and can pull up at any time on a dead run, stop, pull up anywhere from 18 to 15 feet, can do that as well. So Michael Jordan has a bunch, and then obviously in the paint, he's as gifted as anybody ever in the paint of either stopping short and shooting a layup from a long distance, or putting his back to the basket, shooting fadeaways over bigger players. He has so many tools in his tool set offensively. And keep in mind, when we look back at Jordan, the players that are 30,000 point players that only played 15 seasons or less, that's Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan. LeBron James probably will get into that area. But you got to keep in mind, too, Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain are 50% from the field for their careers. So LeBron James has some space to make up if he's going to have that kind of scoring career. And he's going to score more points than Jordan because he's going to play more seasons. But remember, Jordan only played 13 seasons. I think he's fifth all time in scoring, all time. And he only played 13 seasons. That's because he was throwing up 30 points every year, man. He's a career 30-a-game scorer. He has the highest scoring average of all time. And Wilt Chamberlain had 50-point-a-game seasons, and he still has the highest scoring average of all time. There are several reasons for that. Michael Jordan was great in the team concepts of cutting back door and getting easy baskets off steals and things like that. But also in a one-on-one situation, he was devastating. He was basically impossible to guard. You know how you look, we saw it over this offseason. We saw it during the playoffs. It's not that Iguodala stopped LeBron, but Iguodala was able to be on an island, be isolated, and guard LeBron and not look like a total fool. That was not possible when Jordan was in his prime. And this was in an era where everybody defended. This is in an era where Michael Jordan was going against some of the best defenders that ever played the game, in an era where you could hand check. And you isolate on people would be isolated on them and they would get cooked. They had no chance of stopping him. This is why Michael Jordan has seasons. He get 30 a game, shoot 54% from the field. You know, and look, you can go and say, well, hey, LeBron will get 27. Yeah, well, Mike's getting 30. Okay, he's getting 30. And again, this is an era where the defense was much, much, much better. The defense, LeBron James, part of the reason why LeBron James was able to do that pound the air out of the ball nonsense against Golden State is because they don't have a center on the roster. They got that clown Bogut and they got Festus Ezeli. They don't have a real center. That's part of why this stuff flies in this era, things that wouldn't fly back then. And I'm not meaning LeBron couldn't play in the 90s. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying some of the things that he's able to do now, excuse me, he wouldn't have been able to do in the 80s, he wouldn't have been able to do in the 90s and late 80s. So, what would be LeBron's strengths? Obviously, really, it's going to go to be about his size, and it's going to be about once he gets into a certain area of the floor, now he's going to have an advantage. The question is, can he get there, and can he get there consistently? And then once he gets there, how effective is he going to be? Because we all know Jordan can get vertical with it too. Michael Jordan's career block average is the same as LeBron's, 0.8 blocks per game. It's the exact same. Michael Jordan was a rim protecting guard. He can elevate and challenge and all those things. And what we have to keep in mind is we're not talking LeBron's not going to have the post game that he has today, because we're not talking about that LeBron. We're talking about LeBron from maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So we're not talking about this LeBron. We're talking about that other LeBron. That LeBron was a dribble drive, straight line, bull his way to the basket, score guy. He could somewhat play in the post a little bit, but it wasn't as refined as it is now. This is why I question whether or not he would win. And it's one of those things, it's not that I think he would lose every game, but I do think that overall, like say they played 5 games, I think Jordan could get 3 out of 2. I think Jordan could get 3 out of 2. And it's really because I think the quickness would just kill him. I think the quickness would leave LeBron in the dust too often. And we always have to keep in mind, Jordan had that in-between game, stop on a dime, pull up. I think eventually LeBron would have to give him so much space and he would end up backing off. And after Jordan hit him with a few buckets going to the basket and he'd back off of him, and then from there, the in-between game, I think would kill him. I think it'd kill him. And I think that Jordan could force enough turnovers and force enough bad shots, keep LeBron from getting him, backing him to 2 feet from the basket. I think Jordan could do it. I think Jordan could definitely do that. I watched Jordan guard bigger players. Not often, not in a normal matchup, because usually Scotty would have that guy. But on switches, Jordan always did well on switches. He always did well. And it was because of his ability to attack the dribble. And that's something that has gone totally by the wayside in today's NBA. People let people just dribble around the court. Like guys that can't even handle the ball at all, just dribbling around. Back in the day, Nate McMillan, Gary Payton, Michael Jordan, those guys stick you up. Mookie Blaylock, take the ball out your hands. If you were just dribbling around like a doofus, take the ball away from you. That's not that common today. You know, a guy like Patrick Beverley tries to take the ball from people. Like, there's just not that many guys doing it. I think those two things, the quickness, Michael Jordan's quickness offensively, and then his quick hands defensively, will make it very, very difficult for LeBron James. Very, very difficult. Again, this is just strictly a one-on-one competition. So this is in a place where LeBron can't steer Michael Jordan toward help, steer him into a big guy. And this is a place where Michael Jordan has the entire court at his disposal to work, you know, because we had to keep in mind, LeBron's not in an advantage against Jordan anywhere but in the paint. So he wants to shrink the court. Jordan wants the court to be as big as possible because he's dangerous anywhere inside the arc. He can dribble anywhere. He doesn't have to you know, just worry about one area and worry about other teammates and worry about help defense. He can get to anywhere and pull up. I think that Jordan gets him. I think Jordan gets him. And you know what, honestly, I think it would be difficult, and I'm thinking in the history of the game, it would be difficult for anybody to get Jordan. I'm trying to think of players whose skill set gears itself toward one-on-one play. He might have the most one-on-one ready game there is. And, you know, when you think about it, because not just the offense, but the defense. So, you know, those are my thoughts on that. You know, Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. I think best 5 out of 5 games. I think Michael Jordan wins 3-2. I think the quickness, both offensively and defensively, the quick hands defensively, I think that's enough to keep LeBron James from utilizing his advantages, his size and his strength. I think that's enough to keep him at bay. LeBron James, in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I think LeBron James almost would want to use an older LeBron James and a less athletic LeBron James. He may pick himself today for this contest, and then I think he would find he just wouldn't have any hope defensively. I think his feet would be in cement, and Jordan, this quicker Jordan that I'm talking about, you know, Michael Jordan around the age of 27, is just blowing past him, and he has no hope. He would have no hope of staying with him, and he would have to back off him so far. Jordan would basically be able to just shoot open 18-footers on him for game, and it would be just nothing he could do with him. Obviously, this is a hypothetical. I could be completely wrong, and this is why I don't really bring these topics up in my own volition. But you know what? A viewer brought it up. You asked for it. I hope you enjoy it, and you know that. Suckers I maul, they fall and crawl into the pit of purgatory. I go for glory. I'm taking inventory, counting all the tough.